So I think I'm going to follow the same format in Thursday as I did Wednesday. So this little paragraph here of the devotion. Through Jesus, we have full access to the Father as citizens of his heavenly kingdom. We can now come boldly before God's throne as beloved children in God's family and citizens of his kingdom. God has built this kingdom through prophets, apostles, and saints over many centuries, and it's the foundation God is using to build our lives. What a joy to be part of God's household. The key word here is cornerstone. Reflect on some of the troubled times in your life when Jesus was your stable and immovable cornerstone. During my time on second shift, Jesus definitely was my immovable cornerstone because it seemed like everything in life was working against me. I hated that shift. I didn't like being stuck on that shift. Every attempt I made to get off of it, it didn't work. And I was miserable, although my family seemed like they were never prouder. And that really hurt that, something that made them proud was what was just making me miserable. Now, of course, they didn't like that I was miserable, but the enemy tries to get us in a place where we feel like everything is against us, even those we love, because it makes us, easier to manipulate down the wrong path. And I felt really detached from God because of that stupid shift. I spent so much time sleeping when I wasn't working that I had little to no time at all to read God's Word or listen to any sermons. But through the prayer time I did have in my head, and what little time with God I was able to spend on breaks, God did keep me sane through those things. And I do look back and appreciate that of God now that I'm free from it. It says here, read Ephesians chapter 2, 17 through 22, so basically to finish out the chapter. So Ephesians 17 through 22, if you want to follow along. And he came and preached peace to you who were afar off, and to those who were near. For through him we both have access by one Spirit to the Father. Now therefore you are no longer strangers and foreigners, but fellow citizens with the saints, and members of the household of God, having been built on the foundation of the apostles and prophets, Jesus Christ himself being the chief cornerstone, in whom the whole building, being fitted together, grows into a holy temple in the Lord, in whom you also are being built together for a dwelling place of God in the Spirit. And now the question: do you feel as though you are experiencing full access to God through your faith in Jesus? And if not, what needs to change? That's an interesting question to ask ourselves. And I'll share my answer again. For a long time I felt disconnected. Not only, as I mentioned in previous videos, not only was lust a big struggle and sometimes still a temptation, but I have been so distracted from the reading of the Word, I fell back under legalism. And this was referring to what I was talking about, my time on second shift. I did fall back under legalism, like this mindset of, I got to earn God's favor, I got to earn the blessing, especially because it seemed like, my every attempt to get off that shift, it just did not work. But God did eventually bring me off, and it was a blessing, not one that I necessarily earned, because I can't earn his blessings or his favor. None of us can. It's all through grace. That's what grace is. It's unmerited or unearned favor. What needs to change is I must remember Jesus' blood was shed to justify and buy me. Now I can boldly make any struggles, fears, and desires known to God. And why not? He already knows, and he's the only one who can take care of it. And there's a question I want to ask you today. Do you ever have trouble, bringing your desires, your struggles, and your fears to God? Do you struggle with it? Do you sometimes, ask yourself, can I do this? Do I deserve to do this? If you find yourself asking that, if you're a fellow brother and sister in Christ, I want to ask you this. I want to challenge you to do this. Instead of asking, am I good enough to do this? Am I good enough to share my struggles, desires, and fears with God? Instead, I want you to ask yourself, why don't I? Ask yourself, why not? And while you're asking yourself why not, remind yourself, He already knows. And He's the only one who can take care of it. So my challenge to you, and it's a challenge to myself, is to do more inviting Him to take care of us, to take care of our problems. Because we're His children, and it's what He wants. He wants us to invite Him to take care of us. And that doesn't mean that there won't be hard times. But it does mean those hard times will be made easier. Because we'll have His hand guiding us. Anyways, guys, I hope this video has been a blessing to you. And Friday's devotion, I'm going to try my best to do in real time. I don't know how that's going to work out. But hopefully it'll be a little better than these kind of scripted videos. Anyway, God bless you guys.